Welcome to Freedom Decoded. This podcast is from us. We are Carey and Demir Bentley, productivity coaches and co-founders of the Lifehack Method. This format is where we are going two-on-one. Demir and I both coaching one of our amazing Lifehack Tribe members on the productivity issues that are keeping them stuck and keeping them held back from their highest self and from achieving their ideal life. So we hope you enjoyed this in-depth coaching session. It is completely raw and unfiltered, and we hope that you get so much out of it.
Okay, hello, welcome. Our guest today is Aleks, a senior executive who on paper is doing it all. She leads a global team in a high-stakes role, raises 2 kids as a single mom, and is also a primary caregiver for her mother as she undergoes treatment for a condition. Add in co-parenting challenges and school activities and community responsibilities, and her life is filled to the brim. But with so many roles colliding at once, executive, mom, daughter, caregiver, the real challenge is finding balance. So she describes herself feeling stretched thin, pulled in multiple directions, running with some fatigue and stress, and just not as much margin for herself as she wants. Her struggle isn't just with time always, but with systems and workflow and clarity. So how does she balance it all? How does she stay steady for her kids and effective at work and present for her family without burning out? So please welcome Aleks, who's going to join us to talk about the messy, real experience of managing leadership and caregiving and parenting all at the same time.
Yay, welcome Aleks.
Thank you. Thank you both. Good to be here live with you.
So Aleks, in your own words, what do you feel like is the primary issue right now that you're struggling with? Because you've worked with us for many years in Tribe, in boot camp. You've made a lot of progress and also in that period gone through a lot of life changes. But as you're now discovering, there's always new levels and new layers. So what would you say is like the major thing that's holding you back right now?
Yeah, well, I feel like I'm a self-improvement junkie. And so I'm constantly learning. And I love that about this program because I've been using AI for my weekly planning and other stuff. So I think my number one challenge right now is that I have a lot of inputs coming into kind of my inbox, if you would, my mental inbox. And they're coming in from so many different ways, whether it's at work. It's Outlook, it's Slack, it's phone calls and WhatsApps and everything else. And then I have personal stuff. So I have multiple Gmail addresses. I have kids in 2 different schools. We're trying to move my parents down to Virginia, which is where I live. And then my mom and dad don't speak very good English. They speak good enough, but at the same time, they need a lot of support. And my brother is abroad right now. So it's almost like I'm the hub even for his mail coming in physically. And so in my mind, I'm just there, all of this seems kind of manageable on the best day. It just seems oh, if I have a box for everything, it will be fine. But first, most days are not best days because kids get sick, mom is sick, etc. I didn't feel good this morning. So it's kind of how do I navigate through that and have systems that are sustainable? So I think the core answer is I use a lot of systems, some of them pretty well. It's not completely well, but there's some inconsistency there, but I'm not really feeling like I'm in control.
Yeah, I feel that. And I feel like you just need a system that's super flexible, right? Because that's a system that will work in real life. And there's tons of productivity systems, and almost all of them are constructed very rigidly, which makes them fragile and therefore unsustainable. So we never recommend those systems. So that's kudos to you for identifying that there's elements in your system right now that fall into that category, because that's certainly a huge problem. And you can be assured too that if you're having that problem, other people in your organization are having the same problem. So this is not just an Aleks issue. This is probably a more global issue, which is awesome because if you solve it, you're going to be helping a lot of people, not just yourself.
And maybe I'll just echo on that because I think one of the things that really challenged me during COVID is that I had transitioned to this new role, new company, et cetera, and I wasn't aware of the culture. But I think for anybody listening, I did think it was me for a long time. And it took a long time and seeing others burn out through the process for me to recognize this is, as you said, this is not a me issue. This is the reality of today. And so how we're leveraging tools and how we systemize things is really helpful. So this is where you guys come in with cutting through all the noise of a lot of the tools and just being like, we use a couple of these systems and use them well and consistently. I guess I just don't feel like I'm doing it well enough.
No, no, no. I mean, first of all, we just have to understand that you're putting a lot into the suitcase here. And so you're trying to close the suitcase and you're like, oh, the suitcase isn't closing. It's like, I mean, let's just start with the obvious, which is like how much you're trying to put in the suitcase, right? And we're going to get it in there, where at least we're going to get the essentials in there. So have no fear, but also like, yeah, we're going to jump into talking better strategy, better implementation, better use of tools, but there's our ability to overpack will always exceed the size of any suitcase that we have, right? So first, I don't think we can really have this conversation until we talk about commitment debt. And, you know, finances are always relative to what you earn, right? So what seems to be, too much to spend on something for one person is not too much for another because they have more money. You are commitment poor, right? Just your ability to take on commitments is effectively at like a razor thin margin. And I think sometimes we pretend that away, maybe a little magical thinking, and because we're only looking at every incremental cost. It's almost like somebody who gets in credit card debt. They're only, oh, well, that's $50. Come on, like $50, that's nothing. But it's all of the $50 purchases that get you in debt, right? It's the habit of living beyond your means. So we're not going to belabor this, but I do want to say a person in your situation needs to regularly, I'm talking about on a monthly basis, be looking to taco and eliminate things from their life. Taco, for those of you who don't know, means terminate, automate, consolidate, outsource. So you should be doing a rigorous taco every single month in your monthly pre-planning, and something should be leaving. Something should be going. You should always be looking to trim the fat, and it should always be painful. If it's not painful when you're cutting, you're not cutting deep enough. And I wouldn't say that to anybody else except you, but like single parent, 2 kids, going to 2 schools, elderly parent, going through a health condition. I mean, you start high level executive, managing a team. I mean, when you put it all together, let me just give you my eyes from the outside and say, like, if you're thinking it feels like a lot, it's because it's actually a lot for one human being to do, which means that the discipline for you is you need to recognize how commitment poor you are and act accordingly.
Again, like this is not an Aleks thing. This is a human thing. Like we are telling you as third party, unbiased people that you have too much here. And even getting yourself a couple hours back per day will make a big difference. It's not that you can just be forcing yourself to do more somehow with the same amount of time. Like we do need to actually be creating, like I would say, at least 2 more hours per day just for you to manage what you already have going on. So thinking, yeah, like Demir said, like if it doesn't hurt, you're probably not cutting deep enough. But just reading from your survey here that, your morning focus time sort of went away, that you don't have, it doesn't look like you have any after school support right now for your kids. So those 2 areas alone mean that, I don't know where your deep work is coming from right now, right? So that alone is going to create a lot of stress for you.
And let me hasten to add, often the initial reaction is like, Demir, but I can't get rid of any of these big things on my plate. And the answer is usually the margin doesn't come from getting rid of an entire category on your plate. It's usually from sub commitments from those commitments, right? So you're collecting your brother's mail while he's out of the country. And it would be very natural for him to say, hey, would you mind just opening this, this, or would you mind doing this or going through this? And that incremental requests might not seem like too much. And I know your personality. You're like, you want to be the yes, I want to be helpful. You are a helpful, generous person. When I say that it's actually a positive, good thing to consider yourself commitment poor, it means that you're getting more aligned with reality so that when those small requests come in, you're more heartened and encouraged to say no. Like, hey, I know this doesn't seem like a lot to you. And I know it could seem weird that I'm saying no to this, but I'm past capacity right now. And even small things like this are threatening to break me. So I need you to find one of your friends to come over and open your mail because I can't do that. And your internal journey is to be okay letting them have whatever reaction they have, right? Because the truth is, like, especially in corporate where we all put on the smile, yeah, I got this. We all want to be I want to be the yes woman and the yes man and put that smile on and I got this. It's dangerous when we actually are past capacity to keep up that image both externally and internally. We start to believe it. We start to believe, oh, yeah, I said yes, so I can do it. It's like when you walk around feeling like I'm commitment poor, you're more likely to look at something that somebody says and say, actually, my first instinct is no. How do I not do this? Rather than my first instinct being yes, because I would argue that you're close to the straw that broke the camel's back right now. And that small extra thing could be the thing that actually breaks your back right now. So we really got to lighten the load and definitely not take on any more commitments. Does that make sense?
It does. I think some of the ahas so far I have been this idea that I'm commitment poor, because, and I think it's going to take a little bit of time to wrap my head around it. I feel like I tried to add structure. So like it's interesting to me, or actually like my parents might call like on any day and they're like, hey, we need you to deal with this. And I'm like, no. And like, let's say Saturday at noon, and I need you to do like a list of each one. What do you need me to do? Why? Like, what's your process? Like, what phone number do I need to call? So I'm kind of like pushing back, and at times it works, and at times it really doesn't. With my brother, for example, it's like trying to say, like, once a month, like I'll just collect things in one place. Once a month, I'll go through it. I'll scan a couple of things, and I'll be done. So in my mind, I've actually like needed to set up some of those boundaries in order for me to cope with it. Because when my dad, for example, if my dad tries to be helpful and goes to like pick up the mail, comes and brings it and leaves it on the kitchen table, I'm like, oh my God, what do I do with this? It literally is like breaking me in that moment because I can't handle it at that moment. So I am thinking about what you said and just how can I minimize? And I think a lot of it is about practicing those inner boundaries and our outer boundaries and really being firmer with
And
them.
you've actually got a luxury problem here, which is you've gone through the boot camp twice and you've learned systems. And I think on the other side, a problem that's rare, but you get to have it now, is you actually realize that there is a degree to which you can only handle so much, even when you systematize it. And I think you're bumping up against the edges of like, you've put in boundaries, you've put in systems, but I'm here to tell you as your coach, even then, you're bumping up against the edge of just what the human brain can handle and what can fit into, a 7, 8 hour, 12-hour day. So just watch out. Like I'm throwing out some red some red flags here on the field. Like you really are bumping up against the edge. And we're going to get down into some detail of like how can we manage it better and how can we systematize it better. But I want to watch out because I don't want to leave you with the false impression that that the sky's the limit and that you could just get better and better at systematizing and handle more and more, because truthfully, you're up against the edge of what even I would say that I could handle.
Well, yeah, there's natural constraints, but like here's the new mantra. Like I love what Demir said, which is the small things are the big things. And that's what's positive about the situation you're in is there's no, silver bullet here. There's just small incremental improvements, which are easier to make. So, for example, your example of how, hey, your dad did something with the mail, you didn't like where he put it or how he handled that situation. Normal Aleks might be like, oh, it's so not a big deal. I'll just like deal with it myself later when I have time. That's an example of a small thing that actually to you is a big thing. So if that's a conversation you could then have with your father about, hey, I really appreciate you doing this, you picking up the mail. Could you please go ahead and sort it into these categories? That'd be great. Small things are the big things. So if your housekeeper isn't doing a good job in some area, have that conversation. If you have a coworker who keeps on replying in Slack instead of in Asana, messaging them back saying like, thank you so much for this. Can you please put it in Asana instead? Here's the link to that task. The small things are the big things. And this is how you start training everyone around you to cooperate with your system instead of basically becoming the assistant, okay? What I'm hearing from you a lot is that you're letting yourself slip into a role that's very familiar to me, which is team and house assistant. And everything just sort of like goes to you at the end of the day because guess what? You're reliable and you know how to get things done. So therefore you tend to attract a lot of that work, right? And of course you want to be reliable and you want to be all of that, but it's not fair to you long term to always be stuck in that role. Like you want to actually be the kind of leader that empowers everybody else to work a better system and to show them that way. And these sorts of small redirections, it basically you're redirecting people's communication and you're making small tweaks to how they're doing things that will ultimately improve their life and your life.
100%. The small things are the big things. 100%. I just also want to say, if you have a problem framing it as like, hey, this is better for me, just remember that it really is better for everybody.
Yeah.
It's better for everybody. Not even like I'm trying to get the whole team to operate like this. Operate however you want with other people on the team. But when you're working with me, here's how I work. And I think there's an opportunity for you to have a conversation with people, which is like, hey, this is the nature of my role. And I'm taking some guesses here, but I think it's an educated guess that you're being pulled in as the pricing strategist. You're being pulled in, almost ad hoc, right? So you're sort of like jumping in and parachuting in and, okay, great, I'm doing this, now I'm parachuting out. And that means that, you're interacting with a lot of people who are having a lot of different workflows and they don't see 100% what's happening with you. And because they're up against it too, they're not thinking, I wonder what Alex's life is like. How can I make her life better? They're just like going and they're just, lowest common denominator. They're just doing what feels easy and quick and convenient at the time.
Yeah.
And so I think for you, either in small ways or in big ways. The small ways could just be the course correction that Carey just mentioned. Hey, I need this to be in Asana for me to process it right. But it could even be sitting down with a person and saying, hey, if you really think about my role, there's a lot of communication overhead embedded in my role. And I know it seems like I'm being a stickler to say, hey, don't send this to me via email, but you're thinking this is the one request you sent me this month. I'm getting 10 of these a day. Right. And so I need to have a system and I'm just asking for your support in doing it this way because you're going to get a better output from me. You're going to have a better experience from me. And I'm asking, and you're not the only one who's being asked to do this. Everybody else is doing this for me so that I can support everybody in the optimal way.
I think your both are nailing it. There's so much that resonates. So like I'll carry on a couple of the things that you said and Demir, I'll come to you on the things because I think this is both helping me kind of like apply it to some situations and also just like I want to say like retain it and start to change how I'm doing things. So what's interesting, like Carrie, I was gonna say like I need to have my dad like just put things into one box. You went a step ahead and you were like, tell him to sort it. And the thing is, like, I actually set up like a sorting system and I have a filing cabinet in the garage. It's not fully set up. So, like, all my labels are not on, but he can so do that and he would enjoy.
He should put the labels on. Be like, can you go ahead and put the labels on and then go ahead and sort the mail?
That part he will not, but sorting through he will. And especially if I hold a session for him to like let him know what where, he's very old school about some things, and he would just be like, "I don't understand what you're asking me to do." But I'm going to definitely use that, and I think some of the things that you were saying, it's about the conversations. I think both of you were actually like nailing on this. It comes up to really like asserting my need and like unapologetically saying this is what needs to happen so that we both can have a win-win. Because at the end of the day, we all care about the output. It's not about, oh, Aleks is being a stickler. It's like, you want a result? I need like complete information all in one place.
If you want this result and you want it fast and you want it consistent, I might be misunderstanding your role, but like, seems to me the tension in your role is if I get it wrong on either side, deals get lost. You probably don't walk around every day knowing you thinking I'm so important and I do such a high stakes role and everything. But it seems to me that actually that's true, that you do have a high stakes role where you're being asked very quickly to drop in and do something that's very precise and where there's a lot riding on the line. So it's not too much to ask for a little bit of concession or a little bit of consideration from other people like, hey, I'm doing this a lot. It's high stakes. I don't get a chance to work with you. I'm asked to come in and just perform. So it's okay to ask for some concessions and some consideration to fit into your process so that you can do this high stakes role in the way that it needs to be done. And it doesn't need to come across as like, I'm so important, but you also don't need to apologize for it.
It's a balance. So I think I've seen this done badly. And when it's done badly, the person who's making the request sounds like a victim. Oh, I'm so overwhelmed right now. And, you're not following the system we agreed on. And could you please just follow my system? That has a bad ring to it, right? That does not have team player vibes with it. So, like, we want to make sure you're in like the team player camp here and that you're not going into like what you actually are probably thinking, which is like a little bit more of the victim, true, but like victim-y sounding language, right? Because they have their own problems too. They might be thinking, hey, I'm in the same boat. Like, what makes you so special? So, often what Coach Sarah on our team will do is she'll rephrase her priorities to that person, be like, oh, thank you, Tom, for this assignment. I understand this is important. I am working on this other thing for Gary right now. It's really crucial because it's high leverage for like XYZ reason. That's really where I'm putting a lot of my focus right now. I do still want to create the time to get to your project. In order to do so, I need clarity about like XYZ. So that would be an example of something you could say to someone who's giving you an unclear request that is poorly defined and puts a lot of more work onto you to figure out the priority, the urgency, the details. I don't know, details about the client, whatever it is, and it would take you a lot of time. So phrasing it in such a way where it's like, yep, totally got you. Head honcho over here has me working on something super high priority. That's what I'm doing. I'm doing my job. Still want to get to your thing, but here's how we could collaborate in a better way on that.
But I think just generally, like if I just step away, it feels like you could be asking more from everybody around you, but not a lot more. Just a little bit more from everybody, including potentially your kids. I'm taking a wild guess here, but like I am constantly seeing clients who are up against it and actually surrounded by people who would love to help, but you have a little bit of the Thanksgiving dinner problem. It's sort of a joke, but it's everybody knows this. Like you walk into Thanksgiving dinner at somebody's house and like the mom is in the kitchen and she's sweating and everything's a little bit behind and like things are boiling over and you walk in and the first thing you say is, "Can I help?" Because you see that this person is right up against it. And they look at you with just for a second, just get out. They are at a point where they're so behind that even though they need help, they can't receive help. Time that it would take to get the help is more than they have right now. At least that's what they're saying in their mind. Just to get you set up to peel potatoes right now is more than I can handle. So even though I need your help, yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, I might say, Demir, that it's kind of like that. Like, I know we talk about, or we all hear about it. That's like there's tax on women or mothers
Yep.
to spell things out. And so I can so imagine like with the Thanksgiving dinner, it's like, how can I help? And it's kind of like, if I need to spell it out for you, you're not helping. Like you're like, now I have to stop what I'm doing and explain it to you. And I know that that's not wise long term, like at home, because not every day it's Thanksgiving. Like I get it.
Yeah.
And I think your analogy is like it's spot on that most of the time, like I don't want to be acting like every day is Thanksgiving dinner. Like every day actually has kind of a flow. And if I think from, it's like, it's kind of like
Yep.
Groundhog Day, right? The next day, or the next Thanksgiving day, I should improve. I should have roles. I should have something. So yeah, I actually had this conversation with the kids, and this is in my Boost Coach with coaching with Coach Kate. This is what we're working on for like setting up this school year in a smooth way. And so like on Monday, I had a meeting with my kids. And mind you, like this is 3 days in and it's not optimal and consistent yet, but the kids help with meal planning and they helped with like choosing their clothes for the week and other stuff. And that has already like alleviated some of the decisions they had to make every morning on my fresh brain with a little bit of rest that like I needed. So I think you guys nailed it, that it is a lot more about communication and processes. I will just share like one example. I created a form where that basically says like, here's an intake form. If you want to meet with me, and this is obviously for work, Sorry, kids, you need to fill out a form.
No, it's for dating.
I will. We'll talk about that in the next interview in a couple of years. We'll see. Because they will be old enough to use that. But at work, it's like, what's the intake? Like, what do you want from me? Is it
Yep.
guidance? Is it an Excel model? Is it something else? And then give me the industry, the client name, and other stuff, like just information that's helpful. And that typically, for example, for us, it's set up to go to Asana, goes to one teammate. He needs to do the first round of review. What's the level of relationship, blah, blah, blah. And we go from there. But the only thing is, we don't use it all the time.
Right.
And I also set up another system through Outlook where like they can book time with me. Most of them don't use it. Most of them will email me and Slack me and other stuff. So there is a part in here where I come to kind of like, hey, like Aleks, you're not doing this well, is to just say to them, and maybe it's like having almost like a virtual post-it note. I have that app on my computer, but like with those links that I really need people to use. And so when they Slack me on something or email me, and for me to just revert with the link or revert with like email the pricing inbox. I meet with my team every morning.
Totally.
I reprioritize this. Just having those canned responses, I think, and committing to use
Yes.
them.
You must. You must.
I have had these ideas and fantasies about doing them, but I haven't done it. And like, how small of an action is it for me to like pull these links into one?
And it's so impactful. I'm just the other day, there was a friend of mine who's been trying to get on my calendar for like a long time. And she knows that I use a Calendly link to schedule everything. She's not doing the work of going back and like finding that link and using it. But I wasn't about to just be like, okay, here's some times that work for me, because it just hurts me so much to have to do that. I mean, I dug up the link, I have it bookmarked. So I was just, okay, bookmark the link, copy it, and send it over. I was like, yes, great, link. I didn't even say, please use my Calendly to book. I was just like, here's the link. And boom, she was able to book.
Just to give you a little hack into this, also in your computer, you could do keyboard shortcuts. And I like to start them with hashtags. So it could be like hashtag, CAL 30, CAL, whatever. And so, the Cal 30 is my 30-minute calendar appointment. And so it just drops the Calendly link directly in there. So I'm typing an email or I'm on Slack, you can actually you don't even need to worry about like, where's the link? Put the links as shortcuts inside of your keyboard shortcuts so that it's always there available to you at the drop of a hat. And then you could maybe have like a little note that has all of your hashtags so you can remember, wait, which hashtag was that? But it makes it so much faster when you're just like, great. Like I even, have it sometimes if it's the only time I use that link, I'll just have the first part of the link is the actual link. So it could just be like, if I start saying Calendly, it'll just pre-fill the rest of the link. Great. Now I'm going. So I just want to double back to what Carey said, because it's a major theme here. The small things are the big things.
Yeah.
The small things are the big things. And I just want to emphasize that the quality of communication, if you start this now before you're really too far down the vicious cycle, then the quality of your communication will be cheerful and positive, right? Like somebody slacks you and says, I'd really like to get kicked off with this project. I'm excited to get kicked off on this project. Here's the link to, this is the next step for us. So just keeping that high quality, leaned in, positive conversation. We always joke that it's like, if I come to Carey with like a really intense, somber tone, like, babe, I'm really gonna, hey, I need something from you right now. She's gonna get herself like mentally prepared for like, what's wrong here? It's like almost like I'm making a big deal, so it is a big deal. Versus if I'm like, hey, can you do me a favor real quick and do this thing? I'm not treating it like a big deal, so it's not received as a big deal. And that's how I would be dropping these things. It's like, hey, can you sort this mail for me? Hey, can you go ahead and like start dinner for me? Hey, can you go ahead and make sure to use this link? Like
You want
it's not a
to
big
add
deal.
a little bit more friction. So one thing that people on my team love to do to me is actually ask me for links to stuff. And this is partially a failure in our systems to not have a good place where everybody can find said links for themselves. But instead of providing them the link, I'll take the extra moment to tell them where they can find links of this nature. So I'll say, search Google Drive for Lifehack in-person Serenbe retreat. This will pull up a list of all documents you need related to the retreat that's coming up. So then that way they're like empowered to know how to find it rather than just being like, where's that spreadsheet? Where's this spreadsheet? Where's this order form? Where's that sales page link? They sort of learn a little bit more about where things are. Occasionally I'll even be like, oh, that's such a good idea. Can you go ahead and grab that link for me and then also go and store it on our master sheet of really important links? It's literally called master sheet of important links, where that is our sort of library of important links for them to find. So just adding a little tiny bit of friction there while still doing the request.
Yeah, there was something that Demir mentioned earlier. I agree, Carrie. But like Demir, you said something along the lines of like, you don't need to kind of like, I'm gonna say, be a pompous jerk, like, but at the same time, like, own your role, the responsibility, etc. And so what's interesting is like, I think most people that I will connect with, they're appreciative of the limited time, the multiple of projects that I'm doing, and they are actually looking to me to guide them on the best structured way. Because most of them don't do this like every day. I might deal with 250 like transactions and negotiations in a year. They don't. Most of them I deal with like 15, and it's not every day. And most of them are not with me. So like when they reach out, they do actually, I think, look to me to structure. What is it that we need to talk about? How do they need to come prepared? What do I need to do? And so it is a little bit about ownership and stepping into that level and authority of just saying, yeah, this is what it looks like to work with a pro on pricing. And I'm going to do this part. I need you to do this part. And then we work together.
It's like when you go to Mexico and you go on the catamaran ride, the captain jumps in and they just say, this is how this is going to go. Hey, welcome everybody. We're going to do a sunset cruise. Here's what's going to go. Everybody, you need to wear your, life preservers and blah, 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 blah. And if you need to use the bathroom, it's down here, and nobody resents that. In fact, it's a relief. And it's funny when somebody does it with that confidence and they throw in a couple jokes here and there. And you can see they've done it a million times and you sort of relax into their leadership. Like, oh, they're the captain of the ship. And they're going to show me a great time. And they're going to get me there. And we're going to see the dolphins. And we're going to see the sunset. It's going to be an amazing trip. All I have to do is just trust this person and just like work the process. And if I screw up, I'm just sort of recognize, well, that was me. That wasn't them, right? They're here to captain the ship and take me on a journey. And so a lot of times a way to not feel bad about it is to stop seeing it as you and just start seeing it as like, it's not me, the human being. It's like I'm playing the role of the captain right now. And the captain has a role, and there's a way that this goes really smoothly, and it can be very cheerful and pleasant through the entire thing. But it's not self-important. It's not egotistical. It's really you just like, I'm taking you on a cruise right now. Like, let me lead.
Yeah. Yeah.
I love that analogy. That's based on a real life example, in case anyone was wondering. That actually happened to us. Love it, Demir. So well put.
Yeah, it's relatable. I think you're right. Most people actually, I think most people's anxiety, and especially for us, our kids, like they look for structure. And when you have structure, they can relax. Otherwise, they are anxious. And I find the same thing for adults. It's kind of like in the absence of structure, they will try struggle and like rebel against anything. So yeah, I really, really like that.
I think Demir is better at this than I am, but sometimes, for example, when we're training a new person, like right now we're training a new nanny, she'll ask me wonderfully, she'll ask and solicit feedback from me. But the problem is in the moment, I'm like, I can't think of anything. Then the problem is afterwards, I'll go around the house and notice things that aren't done the way I want. And I'll be like, oh, like I need to mention that to her. So something that I've started doing is just taking a note on my phone when I notice that, so that then next time she asks me for feedback, I can be prepared to have something intelligent to say to her rather than just being like, I guess everything's going great. I can't think of anything, because that would actually make her life better too, because she's actually asking, like she wants to do a good job.
As we wrap this up, I just want to say like, there is a tendency, especially that I see in our female business owner or high level mothers, right? There's a tendency to bring that mothering into everything, right? Bring that support and that sort of like, I'll take this load off of you. I'll help you with this. I'll nurture you into everything. And I think both on the personal front and on the professional front, I think there's a huge opportunity to just recognize that you don't have to take it all on and that people do want to support and that there are gradations of support. You just mentioned something great, which is like, my dad is not going to be good for creating the labels, but he'll be great for sorting, right? So, and we can accept the help that people are able and willing to give and let them meet us in the place where they can meet us. And maybe not look so much for the parity as much as just like, hey, help is help is help, right? Like if you can, if you can just move a little bit closer towards me, it might just be like, don't put this in Slack, put this in Asana. Or like, don't just send the meeting request, use my link, right? Like maybe that's not them breaking their back and maybe they could do a lot more than that. But if everywhere around you, you're just bringing everybody one step closer to you in a way that to them feels like nothing, and maybe they're really actually looking at you from the outside and saying, how do I support her? I don't know how to support her. And then you get the annoying question, how can I support you? You're like, if you have to ask, like, then this is not helpful. Like now you're giving me another assignment, which is to figure out how you can support me. I get it 100%. But if you can actually do just a little bit of that work where being like, I'm going to give every single person a way where they can come one step closer to me and make my life just a little bit easier. Sometimes people even take 2 or 3 steps once you give them that roadmap where it's like, oh, I get it. Now I'm seeing her world a little bit more clearly. I'm seeing 2 or 3 things that you have asked me to do are now giving me, I'm putting together a pattern of like, oh, this is how you want it to be done. But even if you just get that one step, it's fine. So I would be looking to capture back efficiencies. Carey said it perfectly. The small things are the big things. Nothing is too small to dial in. No request is too small to ask somebody to take that one step closer to you. And for them, it's going to feel like nothing. But for you in aggregate, across all of the people you interact with, it's going to be massive.
I agree. I think I'm going to need that mantra like printed somewhere close to me, maybe multiple places. And I'm not going to I'm going to say the easy way out, which is to just let things go, because I know that the long game is on the other side of like addressing it right now. So it doesn't bug me on my brain and I don't need to ruminate on every little thing.
Love it. Cool. Awesome. What would you say are like the top 1, 2, or 3 things that you're going to be going in and implementing as a result of this call?
Well, I definitely will need to print that mantra. The small things are the big things, like I said. I also will create. I was thinking to myself, I need to look up a video on how to do keyboard shortcuts and get those few forms ready, and even like a few responses ready of kind of like, in order for us to be most productive for the session that you're scheduling, I need this done before blah blah blah. But having those things, I think, pretty ready would help me a lot. And then I'm going to set up the filing system before my parents come back from Macedonia, so that when my dad is back and brings in mail, he can just stop at the garage level and not bring it in, because that will help my counter be clean.
Yeah.
So I can have that. And I think there was a few more things, whether it's around like giving feedback to my housekeeper or like just doing it in the moment, messaging more, keeping track of that feedback. I think the top 3 I will remember and I will probably do before Friday. Can't believe tomorrow's Friday, but I was going to say by the pre-planning session, I should be done. But I do think these are feasible. Like, this is not complicated. And in fact,
Right.
I'll use my team to help me with it. I'll just say like, hey, what are the most common responses, requests that we get? What are the links that we need to use? Give me your first pass tomorrow morning, because they're in India. By the time I get on, I will have a pre-draft and then I'm able to go with it.
Love that. Excellent.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Awesome. Well, we hope to hear more about your progress on this and let us know how it goes as usual. We are We're in your corner. We are rooting for you. So definitely keep us abreast of the progress.
I will. I'm actually excited about the retreat. So hoping that
Yay!
it goes like well with my mom's scheduling for the surgery. We still don't have clarity on that, but I can't wait because I know in my heart of hearts that it's going to be the first of many. But I
I
really
hope so. We'll see. Yeah, we're hoping so. We're very excited about the upcoming first ever Life Hack in person retreat here in October.
well, so many of us are excited back.
Awesome. Thank you so much for that.